among women and women's rights organizations in Uganda. So with the intersection of gender and ICT, and we do a lot of capacity building, focusing on some of the emerging tech, digital literacy, and also looking at now that due to evolving use of tech, of course, there are aspects such as the digital insecurity on the online platform attacks. So we do a lot of online safety, security, and also we also use ICT as a tool for advocacy, looking at some of the oppressive aspect on the digital platform, and our focus really on women's rights online, though we also do a lot of focus on looking at what is it that shift from the offline, from the online space to the online, and from the offline space to the online space. And we also look at aspect to do with analyzing ICT, internet-related policies, looking at it from the gender perspective, ensuring that the current policies, especially that we work at the national level, is gender inclusive and include issues of women and gender diverse persons from different sectors. And yeah, so that is it about WOGNet. Maybe I could just highlight some of the work that we have also done. We have been doing a lot of research, looking at online gender-based violence, and doing a lot of advocacy and focusing on what are then the emerging forms or types of online gender-based violence that is mostly affected or experienced by women and gender diverse groups. So we did a lot of research, and we're still doing a lot of research on non-consensual intimate images, that is commonly known as revenge porn. And we have also been doing a lot of work with support from APC, Association for Progressive Communication, and Our Voices, Our Futures. And this, we are looking at seeing what is the issue that then, because we know that our voices is then, of course, our futures. And we've been doing a lot of work, research, looking at what are some of the shrinking civic space issues that affect feminist organizing online, looking at capacity building of different women's human rights defenders, feminists, activists, and doing the assessment. What are some of the threats that they face online? What are some of the needs that they need? So we've done a lot of needs assessment, and this has informed a lot of work, such as training the women's human rights defenders and different organizations on how they can keep safe online, how they can conduct advocacy, and several other issues. Yeah, so I could stop there and give my colleague in uniform an opportunity.
Hi everyone. Request to remove my headdress so that you can see me properly. But when I'm taking pictures later on, you remind me to put it back. Thank you. I am an Assistant Superintendent of Police, Francis Ogweng. I am a Child and Family Protection Officer for Uganda Police. I've done that work for 8 years. But currently, I am acting assistant commissioner in charge CCTV operations in Uganda Police. I am a he for she champion for UN Women and also for Uganda Police. I promote positive masculinity in Uganda Police because you realize that Uganda Police has had a very negative image when it comes to dealing with women and girls. We've read stories where our officers battered the politicians, squeezed the breasts of women, and so many others. So I, together with the UN Women and other people, have a program and a project to try to talk to the officers to be human when they are working with the community, when they're working with the population. And with the program that we are doing is called Gender Responsive Policing, where if I am a commander, I am deploying officers. I need to know that when they go to the field, they will get both women and men. So the needs of those people are different. But before, you just send officers to the field. No matter who they get there, you send men, whether they are going to arrest women. But now that is what we are doing so much in the police. I'm also doing some research on gender and digital policing. Now we are, as police, using a lot of technology in policing. But you will find that a lot of policies behind this technology is gender neutral. We don't look at who will access our technology. Like we have so many apps online. You can access like certificate of good conduct online, but who is accessing this? Do the women have the gadgets that we need for them to access police services or not? So maybe I've done so many things. Others, you can just write my name on Google. They will come. So many things. Sometimes they call me male feminist, which name I have had to travel with a lot. Sometimes they call me gender activist, and that is what I like so much. But from the component of bringing men on board, because we have realized that if the women fight this war alone, it will take time for this war to come to the end. But if the men join hands with the women, and this war will be won as soon as we want. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francis, and thank you, Sandra. And later on, we will have online Wala from Sudan, and then we will have Ifat from Pakistan. So we start the conversation. So, Sandra, if I may start with you, what is gender backlash? You know, what are some of the manifestations? Could you please unpack that for us and kick it? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peace. Yeah, so I don't know if in the room you have heard the word gender backlash, but in a simple term, I could say that gender backlash are like pushback against some of the gender equality agenda or goals by different feminist human rights defenders in the work that we do. We realize that there are some of the achievements that we've made as gender equality advocates in the space of gender justice, gender equity, but as a way to also silence or ensure that some of these feminists are silenced. There are some of the ways that have been able to as a form of getting back at them for them to keep quiet or stop the work that we are doing. So for the case of Uganda, we have had several ways of manifestation of gender backlash, both in the digital space and in the online space. We have had, for example, numerous attacks on the existing policies, and these are both ICT related. And for those who have been maybe trying to follow some of the issues that we've had in the case of Uganda, there have been hot debates around the anti-homosexuality bill that is currently passed but is not yet signed by the government. And this has been a lot of threat on some of the groups, non-binary groups and the rest, that are doing work around it and also who identify as such. And we have also seen the advancement in the use of tech, but tech has also been used, whereas it's a good thing, and it has really it has really enabled a lot of our work, promoting, using it for advocacy, but it has also been used to do a number of sharing masculine narratives with the aim of attacking different human rights defenders and advocates who are doing a lot of work in promoting gender justice and gender equity or equality in the digital space. And we've seen a lot of cases such as violence, sexual harassment, the non-consensual intimate images that have been shared without the consent of the owners, with the aim of silencing them. And this could be in form of images, videos, words, faces. And we've seen a lot of people who have gotten offline because of these issues. And some of them leave the online space, and yet the internet is an enabler, and it's a powerful tool that can promote feminist organizing and different conversation. And we have also seen the aspect of many religious groups. We have, for example, the Uganda.
My name is Ifajan.
Sorry about that. On behalf of the media. So we have the Uganda Joint Christian Council, and it's a faith-based organization, faith-based organization based in Uganda, and it was strongly trying to oppose the comprehensive sexual policy that was being put in place to enable the schools to understand what are some of the sexual rights. And in this regard, they were trying to look at this policy as a form of removing some of the morals from these children or these students, and making them not to understand making them understand that the sexual rights is an issue for them. And also the religious group has also really been very strongly in the current policy of the homosexuality bill that we have in Uganda, them trying to say no to homosexuality, and people just come with noise and they do not get to understand what is the issue, in regards to this. You just go with bandwagon and you do not get to understand the issues that this community face. These are human rights issues, and I believe that everyone has a right to live. You don't need to kill one another. You don't need to get back at them because they do not identify the same as you. And we've also had a lot of government interference, closing of several civil society organizations. In 2021, we had about 55 civil society organizations that were closed in Uganda. And I think the one which is very prominent is the Chapter 4 Uganda. And these are organizations that are doing work around women's rights, human rights in Uganda, and some of them, of course, are critical of the state's wrongdoing. So you find that these organizations are being shut down because they are then making also the public aware of their rights, and them also being able to unveil some of the hidden things that is being done in the political, social space and economic space. And we have also seen the aspect that even though we have there's this law, what is it called, that it includes ensure that there are very many political involvement of women in politics. What is it called again? Affirmative action. So we have seen that even though the affirmative action policy is in place, we've seen many women join the political positions, but we do not see the impacts that is being felt in some of the policies that is being shared or is being passed, and because we want to feel it, that if we have the women's presence in this political position, we want to see that women's issues are being integrated in some of the policies. So I would like to pause there and then give Francis an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandra, for kicking that off and also highlighting some of the manifestations of gender backlash that we see online and offline. And you know, the offline and online have just a very thin line. I would like us to hear from Francis, the gender activist. He said he likes that title. So our dear gender activists, we would like to know, what have you been doing, you know, to push, to ensure that we see and we achieve gender equality and we see gender justice? It would be important for us to just know briefly about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Peace and the audience again. I'll divide it into two. One, what I have done as a person, but also as a police officer, but also what the police has done. I'll start with what the police has done. Of course, there has been a lot of progress towards the good side. Before, it was not like today, but today there's a lot of improvement, a lot of change. In Uganda Police, we now have a directorate of ICT. Within that, we have a department for cybercrime, and which is handling issues related to cybercrime. We have another department which is called Forensics Laboratory Department, which is there just to analyze those reports which are coming from the public about online gender-based violence and so on and so forth. We have other departments like the Child and Family Protection Department, where I used to work for 8 years plus, and that department is also receiving reports from the public around violence against women and girls. We have another one in the CID, which is the Sexual-Related Offenses Department, just handling issues of sexual offenses. And we, for the first time, we have a gender policy in Uganda Police, which was I think launched in 2018. Before that, we didn't have that. And we have also a lot of mindset change within the Uganda Police. Before, when I just started this, it was even difficult to talk to people and say, I am talking about gender-based violence. They will say, but are you a woman? Because it is the women to talk about gender-based violence. And you, why? Why of all? And remember, I was first in ICT Directorate, then I went to Child and Family as the first senior police officer going to that department. And there were so many questions. Why ICT and going to Child and Family, and you are a man? And you can imagine, and you are an officer, not just a man, but officer. What are you going to do there? Because first of all, those who come there are women. And what are you going to help them? So that was then. The resistance was too much. We did a walk a mile in her shoes campaign, where I put on a female shoes in the city of Kampala, and I carried a pot, carried a baby, and we walked. And I got so many negative comments. People called me names. This is the homosexual, and so on and so forth. OC sex, OC's officer in charge of sex, things like that. But now, as we speak today, there are so many male officers who are supporting the cause of gender equality in Uganda Police, including directors. You remember the Director Kasinje, Director Ochom, and many others. And even when we were launching the Positive Masculinity campaign, it is the IGP that came and launched this. So now that is on the part of Uganda Police. A lot of work has been done. And in terms of deployment and promotion, so many female officers have taken up senior positions. Many of them are regional police commanders, district police commanders. Of course, there are challenges which we will talk about later. Then again, as a person, what I have done, I've also co-founded an organization called the Wang-O Male Engagement Forum with a colleague who is a Ghanaian who came to study in Uganda, but because we were all studying gender at a master's level, and he got a wife in Uganda, he refused to go back to Ghana. Then he said, okay, now what do we do? I said, let's form up an organization. So if you have some Ghanaians here, we have one of you in Uganda, you can come and check on him. He's now married. But we are doing a lot of work around male engagement because for us, the men were just standing and watching what is happening. But we thought then for them just to stand and watch, it would not help. We started showing them that here we are doing something. Why don't you come and join us so that we do something? That is why we were able to do this walk a mile in her shoes with some few men. But today we have so many men who are able and willing now to walk. So that is around that organization. Wang-O is like a fireside chat. You sit around the fireside. You know, in Africa, the man or the woman is made at the fireside. The don'ts and the do's are told to young boys around the fire. So we want it to be like Wang-O. We go back to where a man was made, begin to unlearn what the man learned, then begin to give them now the right way of a good man. But also, apart from that, we've done a lot of campaign. One is called the Men at Work for Gender Equality. We want to meet men wherever they are, whether they are riding motorcycles, whether they are driving taxis. You can still be at that workplace a good man, a positive man. We've done a campaign about a positive dad where we went to hospitals and we say, it is not good for this woman to come to the hospital alone. Why don't you come with her? We organize drama where we demonstrate how a man is supposed to come with his wife to the hospital, and so many others. I've got already 2 awards for just promoting the positive masculinity, but also the gender equality. That is as a person. So at least now as a country, we are somewhere. You find now so many organizations coming up, male-led organizations to promote gender equality. We have so many. Ministries have programs, NGOs have programs targeting now male involvement in gender equality. That is what I can respond to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. And it's nice to know that the mindset within the police is changing and that you have this gender policy. The tech team, if we could just listen to Ifat, the YouTube recording that we have. Ifat is from Pakistan.
Hello, my name is Ifat Jahan. I am working as a Senior Research Associate at BRAC Institute of Governance and Development near BRAC University. I have been doing research on online gender-based violence and backlash against gender justice activists under the Countering Backlash Reclaiming Gender Justice program in partnership with Institute of Development Studies. Today, I would like to highlight some of my research findings and the threat digital space is posing against gender justice and some of the key challenges of digital activism. Currently, Bangladesh is seeing rapid growth of internet use as well as social media use, and Facebook is the most popular social media platform here, and almost 68% Facebook users are male. But as we are seeing currently in global, that Facebook is being used as a platform to talk about human rights, to talk about gender justice, and it is a important medium of mass mobilization and protest. But at the same time, it is sheltering violence against women. So we wanted to understand the violence happening here in the digital space, which is often a manifestation of backlash against women's rights. Our findings showed that all the forms of violence faced by women in this platform have some common nature and they are interrelated. The most common form of violence was sexually explicit hate comments directed to a specific body parts of women. These are followed by name calling and labeling these women as prostitute, as sex worker, vulgar, and the post advocating for women's rights were delegitimized through haha react that this feature Facebook has. And this haha reaction and all these comments would come with a male validation where perpetrators would define what ideal feminism is, what ideal women's right is, and they would decide who is credible enough to talk about which issue. There is also a significant amount of religious and moral policing against women, where perpetrators would bring in religion to bring in religion to criticize women for their clothing preference, for lifestyle, for their personal choices like relationship or marriage, and their opinions. And in extreme cases, this harassment would lead to rape threats and physical harm. And we wanted to explore why this is happening. So we found that there is this term, ideal women, is often used to control women. This construction of ideal women would create also create a negative alternate image that is called the other. So this separation of ideal and other would justify discrimination, stigmatization, and violence against women, particularly against those who do not follow the heteronormative norms, who would not behave or act the way society would expect it from them. So women who would spoke vocally, outspoken in public space, they would speak on confidently about issues such as sexuality, consent, or violence, domestic violence, or rape. So when they do not fall under this societal conditioning, they would face this violence and been victim of backlash. So besides women, gender activists, feminist activists, or lawyers, journalists, media personalities, there are men who are also victim of backlash. So these men are those who support feminism or support women's rights, would face backlash. And there are people of gender diverse group who are also victim of backlash when they talk about their right or simply express themselves. As I mentioned before, sexuality, rape, marital rape, consent, domestic violence, bodily integrity, one's choice of clothing, relationship, marriage, these are some of the issues that would trigger the backlash most. We wanted to identify some general profiles of perpetrators. It was quite challenging, but our research suggested that these people are mostly young boys and men, age ranged from early 20s to mid 40s. Women, in some cases, women are also the perpetrators when the discussion is about parda or the chastity of women. Unfortunately, there are very few preventive mechanisms. Women could either restrict their comment section or restrict the share audience of any content. Some media personality, they can use page moderation, some activist group also, but not everyone can afford it. And there is this reporting mechanism, but we found that perpetrator use the report option better. Our respondent informed us that their pages got banned from Facebook as the perpetrators reported they're well organized, they're large in number, and they reported multiple times. So their pages got banned. The activist page got banned. And there are some special features of writing. There are way of writing. They comment using special characters or using symbols so that Facebook's algorithm cannot identify these comments as offensive, and so they do not violate the Facebook community standard. So they would, these perpetrators would get, they would not identify, their comments would not be reported. So they can actually benefit from this technology. So these standards were created by Facebook to reduce harassment and to protect the users, but actually they are in return being used by these backlash actors to harass women further. So I'd like to conclude with the fact that digital space is emerging as a new space that forced violence as well as forced activism. But we need to identify the severity of this violence, because this is shrinking women's opportunities, women's rights and autonomy. This is shrinking the civic space for promoting the gender justice. And this effect, it also has this immense psychological trauma to the activists, to the people. It demotivates women. to continue their presence. It intimidates people who want to enter this digital space, who want to advocate for women's rights. So we need to create evidence as much as we can, and we need to address this violence with proper legal framework, with integrity, and to understand the severity. I would like to stop here. Thank you for the opportunity to talk in this Digital Right and Inclusion Forum 2022.
I thought we would say thank you too, because normally even on Zoom when we say bye, we wave, right? So even if she's recorded, I thought we would also kind of respond. So anyway, we will shortly start to engage, but I would like Sandra to just briefly, 2 minutes, could you just tell us some of the strides that you think has been achieved, you know, in terms of gender justice, briefly, so that we can open up and listen to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Peace. So as Women of Uganda Network, I already highlighted some of the work that we've been doing. But first of all, to inform the work that we do, we like to understand what is the community doing, or what is the issue that they're facing. So what we do a lot of research to understand the issues that the community that we work with. And several of our research really helps to shape, for example, capacity building initiative that we've done in various aspects. We've done capacity building for the community and also our women, our network of members, to understand what are some of the existing ICT laws that we have. For example, we have the Computer Misuse Act, we have the Data Protection and Privacy Act of 2019, and the Anti-Pornography Act of 2014 that really in one way or the other might affect the participation and meaningful participation of women and the gender diverse groups to participate in the online spaces. And we also do a lot of being able to use tech as a platform for people to be able to engage. Just today we are having a Twitter space for people to share some of this conversation and them to also be able to understand. And we also established a toll-free line that also was in regards to the work that we are doing with female journalists in Uganda, looking at some of the harassment, the threats that they face online. So this is a toll-free line that usually anyone, of course, really they call in to report issues, and some could be even offline gender-based violence issues that they face in the online platform.
I'm sorry, we have 10 minutes.
Okay.
So Sandra will have a moment to just wrap up before we conclude. But I think we are very interested to know what happens from where you come from, what some of the gender justice rights that you see, or what are the things you're doing to counter gender backlash, or if you have questions to the panelists, I would give maybe some 6 minutes, and then we can have Sandra and Francis conclude. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Cecilia Maundu. I'm a digital security trainer, and I'm also a podcaster. I have a podcast. It's called Digital Data Podcast, where we discuss issues on cyber violence. One of the things that we actually encourage is reporting, because there's a lot of underreporting when it comes to the issue of online violence, and this is attributed by the issue of victim shaming. Every time a woman is harassed online, instead of getting the necessary help, it is amplified by victim shaming and people believing that it is nothing. I just want to know, as Women of Uganda network, what have you done to encourage women to come out and speak about it and talk about this violence? Because if we don't talk about it, then the perpetrators will keep believing that there's no one on the other side. It's just, there's no one on the other side. But when we talk about it, they know they're real people, real faces, and people who are actually hurt, plus their families.
Thank you, Cecilia. Any other person? Yes, I see the two hands. Catherine, you first, and then.
Hello? Oh, okay. Yeah, so my name is Catherine. I work with community networks. I work for Kektaneta. So my question is, in community networks, because we operate in the grassroots, there has been this perspective by men that empowering the woman means weakening the man, and it's not really helping her in terms of preventing the perpetrations of gender-based violence. And I'll be talking about how do we include men in the conversation. And I think in the few forums that I've been in, there have been a lot of backlash because the women feel that is inviting men into their sacred space. So I'd just like to ask, what are these positive strategies, or rather strategic ways that we can include men in these conversations without the women feeling like the men are invading into their sacred space?
Thank you, Kathy. Attacked. Yes, we have her and then the gentleman behind, and then we can give, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I hope I won't end up responding to your question, because regardless, I was going to
You can do so, by the way. It's totally fine.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you. So my name is Mombi Namwawa. I'm from Zambia. I'm a gender specialist, but also a project officer at an institution called People's Action for Accountability and Good Governance. So I don't have a question per se, but rather a comment or an addition to the conversation. So yesterday, when I think my good comrade remembered, we had a similar conversation. I'll just take it from yesterday, where one, there are certain things we should consider when we're trying to achieve gender justice. And the first thing is that as much as policies and law are important, it's more of a social issue than it is of a legal issue. A legal issue comes to facilitate for the possibility of punishing a perpetrator and not necessarily stopping individuals from continuing with this. Two, what we see on social media when it comes to gender injustices is a reflection of what is happening in our society. The digital space is just an extension of other spaces which are open for women's expressions, at the same time can be used as a weapon towards attacking women and all round of gender. I mean, gender is a diverse term. It's just not women, but also young people and people that identify different from the usual method that we've been using over time. So how do we get to merge these two? One, like I spoke yesterday, we need to find a strategy that incorporates the communities in the grassroots. When we start talking about grassroots, we need to find a grassroots approach that makes members of our society begin to understand the conversation around gender, and it should be branded around respect of dignity, of human dignity. We need to start changing the approach, not just about women or freedom, but the dignity it brings towards women when they are led to have the necessary freedoms that they should, in fact, be enjoying. Secondly, we always, of course, have a conflict of how do we involve men, which brings in a second strategy that we need to begin to use apart from grassroots. We must send this message as a mutual benefit of society. and not necessarily as a thought of just letting this particular gender be free, but a mutual benefit, which is true. There is a lot of mutual benefits that we can get by allowing women and diverse gender groups to have the freedom they rightly deserve. When you see the record of most developed countries, you realize that it's been a push for an inclusive effort of every individual member of society, not because they were male, not because they were female, but because they had their abilities to do something that contributed to the development of their countries. Again, like I said, the conversation of gender is broad. We can say a lot more, but I think on top of the conversation, these are some of the things we may need to think of and re-strategize on achieving gender justice, both on the ground as well as on the digital spaces. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can have him. Okay, and you will be last.
Inayata Odhiambo from Community Green Mindset. My question is, how do you ensure working with the grassroots level community to make a domesticated data management system that ensure, because this STEM, like, these programs are being designed by data availability. But how do we ensure that now the data from the grassroots is not tampered with, especially gender-based violence issues, when these people seek justice? Why am I saying this? When men go report for gender-based violence, it trends.
Sorry, what did you say when men report? When
men report gender-based violence, like the way the community is viewing it, it trends, like you're weak, there's so many stigma associated with it. How do you ensure that this data they are providing is so secure and also it's not leaning toward the female? Because right now even men are facing gender-based violence.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and then we can have the last question, you, and then we can have
Thomas Hansen from the Government of Denmark, Danish Embassy in Nairobi. I'm so happy we're picking up this topic here today. About a year ago, together with KEWOPA, Kenya Women Parliamentarians, we actually hosted a meeting here in Nairobi to discuss exactly this issue ahead of the elections, because we did see a lot of potential female aspirants who are basically suffering what we call the chill factor. So basically, it's not even worth venturing online because you know what will happen to you. So it's a really serious target. I wanted to ask, now that we also have a representative from the police of Uganda, I don't know if you could call it impunity, but in a way, what is the response of the police, be it in Uganda, be it in Denmark, be it in Kenya, when these things are reported? Are they taking seriously? Because that's what we very much experience, that you are kind of, if you are the perpetrator online, you are not as you are in the physical world. As you say, it's an amplifier in a very negative way, that you do stuff that is not picked up. So there's this impunity that at least I see as a very serious contributor to the problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we are on our bonus time, right? Tech team. And then
used to see on media, at least today is different, because today at least we have the tools, we have the mechanism, we have the officers trained. The challenge is that they are not enough. A lot of them are around the capital city, and also many officers are not trained. Where they report these cases, they are also as green as sometimes the victims themselves. So we always urge the CSOs to support the government in training the police, in providing tools. We need some forms, we need so many things. So as much as there is some work done, but we still need a lot, because police is a huge institution. In Uganda, we have over 40,000 police officers. That means a lot of consumables, a lot of resources. So we need really still to work together. And remember also, this is not police alone. It goes to court and so on and so forth. The response has changed. The mindset has changed, not like before, but a lot still needs to be done. The other question was about, I think, reporting. I think to make it easy for both women and men to report, we need toll-free lines a lot. When we put gender-based violence toll-free line at Uganda Police during COVID, so many men reported because now they were feeling comfortable to remain in their homes and they're speaking their phones and calling. But don't ask them to come physically to police, they will not come. Because even the officers will ask them questions. You? What did you say? You have been beaten? So we need to make it a bit easy for men to report. But at least now we've told them, report. At least you see a few coming. But still the culture is such that, you're walking to police to report your wife instead of just beating her. Or even asking the clan members to help you beat her. So we need to do some work. Then I think that the last one was on male engagement, taking up this space for women. Others, Sandra will answer. On NTV one time, that question was asked live. That you man, don't even call yourself a male feminist. There's nothing like a male feminist. You're just coming to take up our space. And me, I did not answer. Because in my heart as Francis Ogweng, I am not coming to take up that space. But of course, we have some few NGOs that you don't understand them. They are there in Uganda. They have started their NGOs to counter what the women are doing. They have started their NGOs to protect the boy child. They say the boy child has been left behind. They're only supporting the girl child. So let us begin to support the boy child. Now everyone is in their group. Such are the groups that we really need to talk to engage. And if we are supporting the boy child for what? We need to know the purpose, the reason. We need to tell them that equality benefits all of us. So that I agree with you that yes, there are those wrong elements coming up to take the space of women for the wrong reason, but there are quite many who are in this space for the right reason. The only last thing that I want to say here is that so many men have been brought up to believe that it is for a good man, for you to be a real man, you have to fight, you have to win a fight, you have to beat your wife, beat your children, you have to be gloomy, you have to be sad. That is what they grew up knowing. But now we need to engage them. We need them to unlearn. But I think, to me, the best thing is to use the men who have been converted, to be the ones to engage those men. In my case, we have seen if a fellow man talks to the men, at least they will listen. But if a lady comes, they begin to ask so many questions. This activist, what do they want? They want to break our marriages, so many things. But if we can get just maybe the critical mass of men who understand what they are doing, who understand the benefit of the equality, and we use them, at least others will begin to change. Me, I have proposed in Nigeria, I've proposed here in Kenya, that we need to get this critical mass of men who think alike, who think that the quality is good, bring them together, then we begin to fight this battle together. Will I come back, or this is the last?
This is the last, actually.
Okay.
So you can just, if you have something, just in a minute.
Just in a minute?
Yes, please.
I just want to, my recommendation is male engagement, male engagement, male engagement. I have said in many communities, many conferences, that even myself has ever been a bad man. But after learning a lot about gender, I think I am now born again. I also agree that so many men can also become born again in this area if the right message is given to them. So my recommendation is male engagement. The second one is training. A lot of time we blame the police, but they're also human beings. They don't know these things, online gender-based violence. They don't also know. Why don't we give them the training, support them, and we see if they will not do the right thing. That is my second recommendation. Then the third one is also the population that we want to support should also have some knowledge. Someone comes to police, they have been abused badly, but they don't even understand the law. They don't even, what they want is just, if he can take me to the hospital, we ask them, can you take him to police? Say, no, he's the one providing. They're also very vulnerable. The community members should also be supported in terms of knowledge, but also in other ways. Even victims, many people, we have failed to take perpetrators to court because the victim will just be left there without anyone supporting them. But if we also have a program to support the victims, then so many of these perpetrators would manage to go to court. Then I think second last, okay. I think time is not there.
Yes,
we can
please,
talk
thank you.
outside. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Please engage with Francis when we step out. Sandra, please, could you just briefly answer the questions and then give your closing remarks?
I think Francis really touched on I could say all of the questions, but maybe directly to Cecilia. What Women of Uganda Network has been trying to do is also engage the men in the work that we do. We have an approach of 70% women and 30% men. So even though we are researching a women's issue, we tend to involve men to understand what is their perspective in regards to the issues that women are facing. But we also involve a lot of, let's say, husbands. When we are working in the communities, we ensure that when the woman is coming, let her come with the what? With the husband, so that they are at the same level, and you will empower the woman, but the man will not be able to be aware. And if the woman goes back to start explaining these things, because we still have a lot of that mindset of socialization. We are socialized at birth on how a woman should behave, what are the colors that a woman should wear, and how should a man behave. As you saw, Francis really highlighted very clearly of how the men are really shy to even go to report some of the issues that they face on violence and other issues that they face as men, because they still have that pride that I'm a man, or I'm not supposed to cry, I'm not supposed to do this. So that's what I could say. But I could also highlight what next for Women of Uganda Network. So this is an initiative that we are starting, and it's going to be for 3 years. So we're just trying to understand what are some of the key drivers of online gender backlash in the Ugandan context, looking at the policy area, looking at the civic area, and also understanding what are some of the feminist organizing issues, the civic space. How is it the civic space? What is the regulation of the online platform like in the Ugandan context? So I would like to stop there and hand over to Peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you, Francis. Can we just give them a round of applause? And also to yourselves for coming here and listening and sharing your ideas. Okay, so time is up. Have a great time in Nairobi and enjoy the rest of the sessions, and please interact with them outside. Have a good day.